was very little, I always drew exactly the same picture in every art class, or if you gave me a crayon and a piece of paper. I always drew exactly the same thing. I would draw two mountains, one had a bump in it, a little circle for the water, a big tree on the right-hand side, and sometimes I would put a hole in the tree for the squirrel, and once I actually tried to draw on the squirrel. And I always drew exactly the same thing, and I always drew it in exactly the same order. I'm not an artist. However, I always knew from a very young age that I wanted to be around mountains. And I was drawing mountains from like 4 up. That's only interesting when it's understood that I didn't grow up around mountains. I grew up in a small town in Ontario. And I didn't grow up with TV, and I really don't know where it came from. But I loved mountains. And when I was in high school, I was living with my father in a small city outside Toronto. And I was having a really bad year, my last year in high school, and I decided I wanted to quit and move out to Banff. But I let my father talk me out of it. He said, no, you really want to finish high school. And it was a good call, Dad. So I finished high school, and then I went to college in Toronto for shiatsu. I became a shiatsu therapist. That was 21 years ago. Anyway, I had a great time in school. I got a great job, and I had wonderful friends. But early in February, when I was 21 years old, I woke up and I had what I call, or what I've come to call, my blue sky moment. I woke up and it was as if my mind were a completely empty blue sky without a cloud. And I just lay there enjoying this incredibly still moment, which up until that time in my life I had never experienced before. And out of this blue sky literally came the thought, I'm going to go to Vancouver. And as soon as I thought it, I thought, of course I will. I love mountains. I've always wanted to be around mountains, and it made perfect sense. So I jumped out of bed and I was so excited. And it was just by coincidence that my father was coming into town that day, and I was going to be meeting him for lunch. So when we met for lunch, the first thing I did was blurt out, I'm going to Vancouver. And my father had a process for decision making. He would throw questions, like a barrage of questions, almost like a machine gun fire. And I had this all the time growing up. And unfortunately for me, it doesn't work, because when I get up against a question that I can't answer, I fall into self-doubt. And whatever it was, even if it was just cutting my hair, I wouldn't do it. And we'd had this dynamic all growing up. So imagine my surprise when he starts doing what he does. When are you going? How are you getting there? He starts barrage questions, and I'm answering them. One after the other. I've got the answer. When are you going? April 29th. Oh, well, how are you getting there? Oh, well, I'm going to drive a car out. They've got these companies that will drive other people's cars out for them, who are moving out west. He looks at me, he says, I've never even heard of that. Now, here's the funny thing. Until I said it, I had never heard of it either. I said, yeah, it's, one of those Driveaway companies. Well, anyway, I shut him up. I absolutely shut him up, and he was satisfied. He's like, well, she seems to know what she's doing. And then I went to my best friend's place, and I very excitedly told her, I'm going to Vancouver. And I was really surprised. She was really upset. She's like, you're leaving? And I said, well, come with me. And so now we're both going to Vancouver. So it's February. So between February and April, we prepare in every way possible for going to Vancouver. I arranged to give up my job. I give up my apartment. I give away all my stuff. I'm only going for the summer, but I'm giving away everything. And I move in with my friend. She arranges to have her apartment subletted, and she's giving away all her things, and it's all working out perfectly. Now, as we're leading up towards the departure date, we go to Mountain Equipment Co-op and we get matching raincoats. I have a royal blue, she has a navy, but they're exactly the same. And then we get matching hiking boots, they're identical. And we have matching backpacks. And we have everything that we need. And all the while, every time someone says, how are you going? We explain about the Driveaway company. And we say, yes, we're going to drive this car out. Really, I've never heard of that, everyone always says. And we're like, yeah, it's a company that does that for people who are moving out west. Of course, at this point, it's been a couple of months, and I forgot that I made it up. And I'm just calling it the Driveaway company at this point. And yeah, and I'm not 100% sure now. I'd have to check with her. I don't actually think I told my friend that I made it up. I think that when I told it to her, I told it like it was a real thing. So it's a week before we're to leave, and we're all ready. We're all ready, except that we don't have a way to get there. And so it's a week before we leave, and I decide that maybe I should check on the car. So, and I totally believe my own story now. So I don't look in the yellow pages. I just look in the white pages for Driveaway. And there it is. There's a company called Driveaway. So I call them up, and the guy answers, Driveaway. And I'm like, yeah, so is this the company that drives people's cars out to Vancouver? We go all over. Yeah, we take cars, we drive, we send them all over. I said, oh, great. Okay, well, I'd like a car for next Tuesday at around 10 a.m.
Good evening.
For Vancouver.
I'd like to tell you a story about when I moved to Vancouver. So it's kind of like the opposite
You
of
don't
the
order
person
cars.
before. I thought
The
that was
cars
kind of
come in here
interesting.
and they tell us where they want to go.
But it
I got a car
begins
today that wants to go to Newfoundland.
When I was very little,
I'm like,
I
well,
always
I don't
drew
want to go to
exactly the
Newfoundland.
same
So
picture.
if I want a car
in
going
every
to
art class,
Vancouver
or if you
next
gave me a crayon and a
Tuesday,
piece of paper, I always drew
you know, how do I
exactly
arrange
the
that?
same
And he said,
thing.
well, you call Tuesday.
I would draw two mountains,
and he hangs up.
One had a bump in it,
And I'm like,
a little circle for the water, a
don't
big
think I
tree
wanna
on the
wait
right
till
hand
Tuesday.
side. And
I
sometimes
think
I
maybe
would
what
put a
I'll do is
hole
I'll
in
call
the tree for
every
the
day
squirrel.
leading up to
And once
Tuesday.
I actually tried to draw on the squirrel.
If I get the car a couple of days early,
And I always
that
drew
actually would be
exactly the
good.
same thing, and I
So
always drew it in
every
exactly
day
the same
leading up to
order.
Tuesday,
I'm not an artist.
I call this company.
However,
and I say,
I always
any
knew
car from a
going
very
out young
west
age that
today?
I wanted to be around mountains.
Because I'm
And
21.
I was drawing mountains from like 4
And he
up.
says,
That's
nope.
only
And he
interesting
hangs
when
up.
it's understood that I
it's
didn't grow up around
April
mountains.
28th,
I grew up in a small town
and,
in Ontario.
I'm
I
going
didn't
out to
grow up
dinner
with
with my
TV,
best friend, and we're
and
saying
I
goodbye
really
to all
don't
our
know where it
friends.
came from.
And we're
But
vacating her
I loved
apartment the
mountains.
next morning at 9 a.m.
And,
because the
when I
tenants
was
are
in
moving
high
in.
school, I was living with my
And,
father in a small
there's
city
still a car,
outside
and I am
Toronto.
not worried, not even
And I was having a
little.
really bad
And
year my
neither is
last
she,
year in high school, and I
because we weren't
decided I wanted to
expected to
quit
leave
and move
until
out
the
to Banff.
29th.
But I let my father talk me out of it. He said, no, you really want to finish high school.
And so one of her
And
friends
it was
pulls
blue
me
collar.
aside and looks me in the
So I
eye
finished
very
high school, and then I went to
seriously and
college
says,
in
"What if
Toronto
there's no
for shiatsu. I became a shiatsu therapist, and that
And
was
it's
21
the
years
first
ago.
moment
Anyway,
that
I had a great
considered
the great time in
possibility
school. I got a
that
great
there
job,
wouldn't be a
and I had
car on the
wonderful friends.
29th.
But early in
And I'm
February,
like,
when I was 21 years old,
and I can't
woke
answer that,
up,
and I just push
and
it
I
aside,
had what I call,
and I go back to the, well,
or
of
what
course
I've
there will
come
be
to
a
call
car.
my blue
Of
sky
course there'll be a
moment.
car. There'll be a
I
car.
woke up, and it
So
was
in
as
the
if my
morning,
mind were completely
it's 9 a.m. We
empty,
get our matching
blue sky
backpacks
without
and
a cloud.
coats on,
and I just
we
lay
have
there
brought snacks for
enjoying
the
this
drive.
incredibly still.
And we also
moment,
got a
which
bunch
up
of
until
tapes
that
together
time in my
because we
life, I
just
had never
assumed
experienced
that
this
the car
before.
we get will
And
have a
out
tape
of
recorder
this
in it.
blue
And
sky literally
we
came
have
the
selected the Indigo
I'm
Girls
going
is
to
going
go
to
to
be our
Vancouver.
first and tapes that
I thought,
will
of course
drive
I will.
out of
I love
Toronto
mountains. I've
playing.
always wanted to be around mountains.
And
it
we
made
go
perfect
to
sense.
a
So I jumped out of
payphone,
bed and I was so
and I
excited.
put the quarter in,
and it was just
and
by
I call
coincidence
Driveaway,
that my father
and the
was
guy
coming
says,
into town that
Driveaway,
day, and I was going
and
to
I
be
say,
meeting him for lunch.
any cards
So
going
when we
out
went
west
for
today?
lunch, the first thing I did was blurt out, I'm going to Vancouver.
And he says,
And
Yeah,
my father
got
had
one
a
going to
process
Calgary.
for decision making.
And I say,
we'll be right over.
questions.
Like
A
now,
barrage of
we go,
questions,
I mean, it's
almost like a
amazing,
machine
right?
gun fire.
So we have a very uneventful trip
And I
to
had this
Calgary,
all the time
and we
growing
bus it
up.
to
And
unfortunately
Vancouver.
for me it doesn't work.
And
Because when I get up against a
when
question
I-
that I can't answer,
At one point, we
I
go
fall
down
into
to
self-doubt.
English Bay when we
and
first
whatever
arrived.
it was,
And
even
I
if it
look
was
at
just
this,
cutting
and
my
I
hair,
look at
I
my
wouldn't
friend,
do
and I
it.
said,
And
"You're not gonna believe
we
this.
had this
I've been
dynamic
drawing this my
all
whole life."
growing up.
Thank you very much.
So imagine my surprise when he starts doing what he does. When are you going? How are you getting there? He starts barrage questions, and I'm answering them. One after the other. I've got the answer. When are you going? April 29th. Oh, well, how are you getting there? Oh, well, I'm going to drive a car out. You know, they've got these companies that will drive other people's cars out for them, you know, who are moving out west.